So one thing I did promise is a whapper. A whapper had a question in the WAP group, and it's James, and I said I'd cover it today. And he said, remember, these wealth gen chats, we can talk about anything, cryptos, business, whatever you want. So his question is Instagram account management. After providing a statement of work, which is roughly 3 to 4 posts per week on Instagram account for the purposes of reaching follower engagement goals and ultimately sponsorships for esports, what is an appropriate amount to charge? I keep coming to £100 a week as far as time is concerned, but I'm not really tuned with rates. Anyone know anything here? And so after a bit of prodding and some questions, etc., just for clarification, James here is asking how much he should charge someone to manage someone's Instagram account. And so, yeah, we went into a few other questions, but one answer which I would love to, or not love to, I'd like to highlight here is what Adam replied. And Adam, again, he's been in business for a long time, so he's a switched on cookie. And he said, whatever someone will pay. Sounds like the sort of thing that will get dragged hard to as close as to zero as possible, though, with so many offering it. Going to come down with what value you're offering. Probably combos of your rep, assets, example, media coverage, etc., credibility, case studies, example. He said, I would not pay £100 a week for this, but that is based on what you've described, which I can do sat on the toilets in a few minutes. So what actually is happening? Some branding shiz reverts back to initial statement. So, yeah, I do get that. So there is a definite... Adam's got his hand up right here, actually. We actually have the man. Did you just hear all that, Adam?
I did, mate, yes, thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do agree with Adam. So, pricing is a hard one, especially where sometimes you have services where there is real value and perceived value. And it's something, it's quite tricky to get your head around. So sometimes, like, let's take web development, because there's lots of magic and higgery-pokery over there. So there are endless amounts of web companies out there that will charge £10,000 for a simple website, okay? You know, like a simple 5-page website. And you may, I mean, those of you in the know will be like, what? Seriously? But seriously, I shit you not. There are so many companies out there that will charge between 5 and 10 grand for a simple website. Now, if the person knows nothing about business, never been in business, knows nothing about websites, etc., and then they see a pitch, you know, hey, and you know, they have like whether it's a Zoom meeting or a physical meeting, and they go, yeah, we can build you this website, we'll do this, it has this, blah blah blah. That person can leave that meeting going, oh wow, 10 grand for this website is actually quite a good deal. And I know this from bitter experience. When I first had my first proper business that actually took off a bit, I needed this website with, you know, it wasn't just a simple website, it needed some extra tech. And I got scammed. I literally got scammed by this Norfolk-based web development company, which I won't, scam is a hard word. I got massively missold. I'm not going to mention the name. I don't want to throw arrows at anyone. But what happened is that they quoted me for £6,000 for this website, blah, 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 blah. And I had zero scope creep, okay? So I was very specific in the brief, what I needed, etc. They said, yeah, we can do this for, I think, 6,250 quid. A month later, they came back going, oh, yeah, the thing that you said you need is actually trickier than we originally thought. And by this time, I'd already paid the £6,000, and they said, yeah, but we can get the next bit done, or we can get it fully done for an extra £3,000 because of blah blah blah. And I was sort of pot committed. I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay, I'm in. £9,000 in. Let's do it. It was all going fine. I think they produced it, and then like a month later, it didn't work, and they said, oh, their plugins didn't work or whatever. And long story short, they kept on reeling me in. And £13,500 later, I had a website which I couldn't use. And they just kept stringing me along. And this was the first time I was in business. I knew nothing. I didn't know anything about, you know, how much work was actually involved in, blah, blah, blah. And it's interesting, you know, 10 years later, I can see everything with crystal hindsight. And that, you know, I've got an in-house web developer who is a freaking wizard. And I know how long it takes to build a website. Like a simple 5-page website doesn't take that long at all. So if I was to actually look at pure costs, like of my like Matt, his name is Matt. So if I was to look at his salary and divide his salary, as in his daily salary, by the amount of hours it would take to build a fresh, brand new website from scratch, etc., it's nowhere near 10 grand. It's nowhere near 3 grand. Like, you're talking websites these days, especially if you're, it depends how basic the website is. Like, in terms of hard costs, it's like, probably like 500 quid. If that, maybe. And then you got, hosting obviously as well. But yeah. And so when I look at this question, James, Instagram management, so 3 to 4 posts per week, I agree with Adam. Like, it's not £100 a week thing, because like it's basically, let's say it's 5 posts a week, so a post a day. Like at max, like it's going to take you 10 minutes to think of a post, create the the picture or the little video, etc., then post it. Now I know it's a bit of a chore having to do someone, manage someone, but no, chore is not the right word if you're doing it as a business. It's hard. So with that, it's a low value task because it's so quick. Now if it was bundled up as part of an overall package, so not only are you doing Instagram posting for this person, you're doing PR, you're getting them into other, magazines or competitions, you're doing other bits and bobs, YouTube ads, I don't know, like the full shebang, then all of a sudden you can justifiably charge even more than £400 a month, which is there. So it's a bit of a tricky one. And also, I don't know if you have the credibility or the case studies. Like, do you have 10 clients that you've done this before and they've had crazy results and their followers have gone from 10 followers to 1,000 followers, blah. Now if you don't, then if you're starting out in this, then you're going to have to charge very low. Like, I don't know, just charge 25 quid a week or something like that, just so you can get a customer, so you can work on an account, and that way you get used to managing an account like this, and then you can bolt on other stuff in the future. But then if you have a full portfolio of people that you've managed before and they've done well, then yeah, hell, you can charge £1,000 a week or whatever. So that, I guess, is my long-winded answer to that. It really depends. And this is why I think I had, for those on my Facebook profile, you probably may or may not have seen, there was a massive backlash about a gardening post I had, I think earlier this year or sometime last year. Like, most of the time when I post something on my Facebook profile, I'll get 50 to 100 likes and, I don't know, 20 to 50 comments. Okay, pretty average. Then all of a sudden I post something about gardening and an hourly rate, and I had like something ridiculous, like 250 comments, and it was like a bit like Marmite. Some people really agreed with me, some people thought I was an absolute shyster. And basically where I was coming from is that all I was looking for was someone to sit on my ride-on lawnmower and cut the grass for, I forgot, I just wanted to pay, that was it, I wanted to pay £10 an hour for someone to do a little bit of weeding and to sit on my ride-on lawnmower and ride on and spend, I think it was 8 hours a week, and I wanted to spend £80 to £100 a week. Yeah, that was it. So it was about 400 quid a month, I think. I can't remember, it's so long ago now. And to my knowledge, from my perspective, I thought I was being entirely reasonable, paying £10 an hour for weeding, which is something everyone can do. Everyone that has a garden knows how to weed and cut the grass. Okay, so it's not exactly a high skill thing. And also to sit on a ride-on lawnmower. I mean, I bought my first one ever for the first time last year, and like it took me probably 10 minutes to get the hang of it. And since then, I can cut like very good lawns because you're just sitting there steering and listening to an audiobook. I mean,
I think consider the economic conditions at the time as well.
Yeah, everyone was jobless on furlough. Like, I was trying to employ someone during freaking a GDP crash, and I thought I was being very reasonable, paying a gardener 400 quid a month to do some weeding and sit on a lawnmower. However, I got massive backlash. I actually got hate mail for that. They think, oh, who do you think you are? You can determine the hourly rate of a gardener. I went to agricultural college and I got this and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'm not hiring a tree surgeon. I just literally want someone to ride my own lawnmower. Like you're not even having to use your own equipment. And so pricing is really, really hard. But then on the flip side, you have, marketing companies charging, $100,000 a month to manage, a couple of accounts. Like if you look at VaynerMedia, so Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, for anyone that's familiar, he has been masterful with his social media, and he's put in the long, hard grind. So I mean, he's been very active on social media for probably solidly for a decade before he ever got famous. He started off with Wine Library and all that sort of stuff. And to the point where he now has millions of followers across Snapchat and Twitter and all that sort of stuff. And his angle that he always uses is that, hey, I'm not one of the, I have nothing to sell you. I've got no courses to sell. I'm just going to give you the straight chat, blah, blah, blah. And he does give some really good advice and nuggets, which is cool. And I've binged all of his stuff in the past. And he says the same stuff over and over, which is, if you have a message, that's what you need to do. You need to get it out there. But he, at the same time, this is just my opinion, I think he's been slightly disingenuous, because he does have a product, and his product is VaynerMedia. So where he makes his money is with his marketing company. And you, the followers, his Snapchat followers, his YouTube followers, you are the product. You are the thing, except you're not the customer. You're the product. So he has basically cultivated and created his own fishing pond. And so basically VaynerMedia charges like £50,000 a month upwards to manage an account, because he then goes into all these blue chip companies and go, hey, look, I've got millions and millions of followers on this platform. I got this many followers. This platform I got this many followers, and I started off with no followers. Blah blah blah. I know how to grow followers. So Coca-Cola, I know, Virgin, whatever. Let me manage all of your accounts, and I'm only going to charge you 100 million. Oh no, I know, $100,000 a month, and that's how he makes his money. So I guess you have to see the back end of everything. So this is, again, very long answer to your question, Mr. Dilly. Hopefully that helps. So any questions? Again, here for those here on Clubhouse, just pop your hand up if you have any questions. I'm just going to have a quick scroll through the questions in the Facebook Live. So Mark now said, is it worth getting into Bitcoin? Oh, that's such a big question. And there's so much context that I cannot share with you just in a very short period of time like this. My ultimate answer is that, one, I can never give financial advice. I'll never be a financial advisor. Don't want to be. I guess the thing with an asset like... the way I look at the markets and economics and saving money in general is... what sort of world do we live in right now? Is it, in terms of currency supply, is it inflating or is it deflating? Okay, well, you look at the currency supply. If you look at the M2 money graph for UK, US, it's going vertically up. They're printing money like it's freaking no tomorrow. They're literally at the printing press going... brrrr. And so, okay, the currency supply is growing massively. So that means... we're in an inflationary world in terms of currency supply. I'm not talking about prices, I'm talking about current monetary policy, as in currency supply. So what that means is the pounds in your pocket right now are getting absolutely destroyed every single second. Whatever's in your wallet right now, you may think you have £10 in it, but really your purchasing power is melting. All pound sterling and dollar, they're just massive ice cubes melting away in your hands, in your bank account, drilling a hole in your bank account. And so when you're in this sort of monetary policy inflationary environment, what you don't want to do is save your money in an ice cube. Like, that would just be silly when you look at it this way, which is the logical and correct way to look at savings, by the way. This is not an opinion. This is like literally logic. So if something's being inflated away, you don't save your money in ice. That's in a hot environment. What you need to do is save your wealth in an asset. I'm not saying a currency necessarily, in an asset which is not being flitted away. So, i.e. a deflationary asset in terms of currency supply. Okay, now this is going to be a brand new concept to a lot of people here, so I will repeat this. So in a hot environment, i.e. where the pound sterling has been printed to oblivion, you must not save your personal wealth in that currency. You need to save it in i.e. a non-inflationary asset or a deflationary asset. So when we look at Bitcoin, it then poses a very interesting situation, because Bitcoin, although it is inflating very slowly, as in exactly 1,800 Bitcoin are being mined every single day. It's halved. Sorry, we've had a halvening. So what's half of 1,800? 900. So we have 900 Bitcoin being mined every single day. And when you look at the total supply of Bitcoin, it will be 21 million. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. And the last one will be mined in the year 2140. That's how crazy this distribution curve is. So basically, we've got like 95% of all Bitcoin that will ever exist is out there right now. And the remaining sort of, 3 million or whatever, or 2.5 million will be mined over the next, 100 years or so, 120 odd years. So basically, all the Bitcoin that we have is floating around there. So technically, yes, it is inflating very slowly, but when you compare it against the dollar or the pound sterling or, freaking barrels of oil or whatever, it's a deflating asset in terms of its currency, in terms of its supply. So you absolutely want to save money or your wealth in a deflating asset or a non-inflationary asset when everything else is inflationary. So that is my boring economic answer to your question, Mark. As in, is it worth getting into Bitcoin? In my opinion, frickin' yes. And I've been saying it for a long time. Is it worth putting all of your life savings into it? Well, that's a different question, which, again, I have an equally long answer for. And so that's the way I look at crypto, or Bitcoin especially. It's a store of wealth. And it's a solid store of wealth. And I said in other videos on my YouTube channel that you must not confuse volatility with riskiness. Yes, it's volatile. Is it risky? No, it's not. It's freaking battle tested. It's been attacked more than anything that I can think of in the history of investing. Nothing has been attacked as heavily and as relentlessly as Bitcoin has, to the point where governments are banning it, countries are banning it, and it's still rallying like nuts. So yeah, it is worth getting into, but how you get into it is a completely different question. And so I'm just going to default to the standard. It's always worth pound cost averaging into something. And again, in previous videos I've shown that you could basically buy Bitcoin every single month over the last, let's say you got into Bitcoin in 2018, okay, at the height of its bear market. So you buy in, and let's say you're the world's worst investor. And in fact, let's get the chart over here. So for those on Facebook Live, you can probably see this. So over here, if we zoom out, in fact, see these little dots? Let's just say you are the world's worst investor and you try and time your entries, but because you're so bad, you end up buying the local high every time you buy in. So all these little circles here, like you're buying all the high. Well, because you're, let's say, putting £200 every time you do it, and you're just doing this over and over again, every single month, year after year, guess what? Your average buy-in price will probably be around sort of $9,000 right now. $10,000, and you'd be sitting pretty, very much so, even right now, even with the little tumble Bitcoin had today. So pound cost averaging in is always worthwhile. I mean, does anyone have any other thoughts and questions to that? I mean, you've heard my penny's worth, but does anyone here massively detest crypto and Bitcoin or anything different to add? Feel free to pop your hands up. But failing that, we'll move on to the next question.
I don't have anything about Bitcoin, but I have some questions non-crypto related.
Oh yeah, go for it. Hit me.
They might not be popular. Because it's not crypto.
Yeah.
Okay, so first question, going back to the Instagram thing, etc. Let's just use a comparable with the Gardner post that you put up.
Yeah.
Which was a cool post, it's cool. If somebody had approached you and said, I charge £30 an hour, but this is what I do, and presented you with pictures of beautiful things that they could have done to your garden and so on.
Yeah.
Do you think then you would have been in a different situation?
No, because we actually had a company that came in and quoted me £900 a month, and it was a a proper landscape architectural garden company. I think that's what they called themselves, and they gave me a massive. So we were walking around the grounds, and he handed me this big old folder. And as we were walking around, I was showing him what we wanted doing, blah blah blah, and there's this big old folder of awesome pictures. And I was just flipping through, casually as he was, and it was a very beautifully crafted presentation. So not like you can see this guy. I mean, he's been doing it like for 30 odd years, and I could tell that he's done this same pitch probably for 30 years straight because it was flawless, but like. Not flawless in the cheesy way, like everything was scripted, but he just asked all the right questions at the right time. He was asking, why I want it like this or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm not a garden person. I couldn't give a shit. The only reason we wanted a gardener is because Ellie likes, I prefer an unmowed lawn. I like grass when it gets to the point where it's so unkept it just turns into a meadow, if that makes sense. Okay. So if it was down to me, I'd just let it just go wild. But Ellie wants a cut lawn, and so, and she doesn't like weeds. And I personally, I don't care. It's a garden. Like, I just take the dog for a walk in it. I don't, masturbate over my garden. Like, sorry, it's probably not the right thing to say.
Okay, second question. For you, you often reference books or authors that you have learned things from. Which is good. Would you be prepared at some point to put a list of that together in some sort of spreadsheet that you can put online? Use like an affiliate links or whatever, so you get paid off them. Because I think there's a lot of things that people can learn and don't have time to scribble down. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. In fact, whilst we're doing that, I'm going to text my ops manager now. Hey mate, do you have the book list? URL. We've already done it. So I think we created a web page full of all of my sort of recommended book lists, etc. So it is somewhere. But yeah.
Cool.
But for those for massive not heads up, or like if you're looking for a good book to read in the sort of wealth creation space, read the book Shoe Dog. What's his name? Shoe Dog author. That's it, Phil Knight. That is one of the best sort of books I've read, to the point I actually was choking up and sort of tearing up and crying by the end of the book. And it's all about how Nike started out and how he got his company from nothing to a global brand. And there's so many business lessons in there. And I would say that's as good as Rich Dad Poor Dad and all the other sort of stuff. Another one, in fact, let's start there, and I'll try and post this link to this.
That's what I mean, because you mentioned and you start to go off on another one. So if there's a list you've got, would be really good. I think that's what I'm saying. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, no worries. For some reason, I cannot see any of the questions in Facebook anymore. Facebook's gone nuts. So I'm going to have to rely on Clubhouse here. So does anyone here have any questions or anything that I can go through over the next sort of 5-10 minutes? I'm happy to ride that tumbleweed. No. Okay. I've got another one, something else that we can talk about. 1 second. And just trying to get the Facebook Live running. No, that's still not working. So this, I think a lot of people want to talk about crypto. I'm getting a lot of crypto questions. The other thing that I'm getting a lot is, if it's not Bitcoin, what do you buy? And the thing I'm always referring people to is the Kryptonian portfolio, which is on my YouTube channel. It's one of my recent videos. Just go to Siam Kid YouTube and just scroll down a bit and find the Kryptonian portfolio. And basically, you just need to turn yourself into a tracker fund. That is it. That's the easiest way. Just buy the best coin in every in every sector. But yeah, just watch that video. I must have posted this link out probably 20 times last week. So please do watch that. Right, seeing as I can't see any other questions, and I think if we open up another topic, it's going to be quite a long answer. Any other questions that I could give a quick 5-minute answer for? Otherwise, we'll just have to call it a day here for today.
I will ask you another question. It's not crypto related.
Sweet.
With respect to something that we were talking about recently, where you've been into the first-person view droning.
Oh yeah.
Which was kind of cool, and you mentioned that you found somebody on YouTube and essentially you use them however you want to divulge that. Maybe some analogies there in business that you could use. If somebody's looking to get better at what they do, you went and found somebody who's an expert, so maybe that would be useful. I think that's quite helpful to explain that.
It's a really good question. So for those that are listening, a bit of context behind this. Adam and I are in a WhatsApp group where we play Age of Empires 2 every day. Literally every day we play. And like Adam and I in the group, I think we're probably one of the best. We're one of the better players in this group. I mean, there's only like 15 people in this WhatsApp group. And in our little tiny fishing pond, I think we're, the better in the group. But pretty much every single time we play online against other people, so it's like us two versus two other randoms online, we get absolutely spanked. Like, it's embarrassing sometimes how quickly we lose. And I was chatting with Adam probably yesterday. I was like, so we've spent all these hours playing Age of Empires recently. Like, are you doing focused learning on your Age of Empires, or are you just playing, for fun? And the reason I asked that is because, every time I play now, I actually want to get a bit better. So I'm trying out new things all the time. I'm actually very geekily looking at YouTube videos of Age of Empires, how to get better, but all that sort of stuff. And when you do focused learning, you improve your skills rapidly, like really, really fast. And last night, the topic came up of FPV droning, so first person view droning, as in where you stand somewhere or sit somewhere with some goggles on your head, and you can see everything that your drone does, and then you can go and do some aerobatics and all that sort of stuff. Now, I started droning in the summer last year, just because it was like a lockdown thing. I wanted to not be bored. And I started off really shit. I started off on a simulator, and I was really pants. And then I was a bit frustrated. Now, the way that I personally learn is I can do all the trial and error myself, and I'll learn very slowly because I'm an idiot. But I like finding experts in a niche and then just sucking everything out of their brain as fast as I can in a nice way. So what I did is I just went on YouTube and I looked for people that are really good at FPV droning and just wanting to pay for their time. And what you'll find a lot of the time, especially on YouTube, that there are loads of experts out there that haven't monetized themselves. Like, I found someone who had I think it was 50 odd followers on YouTube, and he was posting on some freaking amazing videos of his droning videos. I was like, oh, wow. And so I reached out to him. I said, hey, you're awesome. Can I pay you for your time? He was like, no. I was persistent. I was like, please. Not like that, but I was persistent. And then in the end, I asked him, what would be a really good hourly rate for you for your time? And he said $25 an hour. And I was like, okay, deal. And you'll be happy with that. And he was like, yeah. And so then I must have probably spent, a good 10 hours being trained up one-to-one with him online on Zoom and stuff like that. And to the point where he said, this is according to him, my droning skills in the space of 2 months got me to the level of someone that has been doing it for 5 years. And that was my goal, really, just to massively accelerate that learning curve and then just chill out. And I have chilled out. And no one does that really these days. So Adam was sort of half joking when he said he wants to get some one-to-one tuition for Age of Empires.
I wasn't joking.
Yeah. But people don't even think about doing that for business. Or, I mean, some do. I mean, that's why there is a pretty large sort of self-help world out there. But I still meet people every day that think, what, you pay money to get help for, blah, or business or trading or property or whatever. And I really would. I mean, I'm not in property, and I haven't been. I've never been in property. I don't really want to. But I know at some point I'm going to have to get into commercial property, in terms of a wealth preservation play. At some point. But would I just go and do all the mistakes myself? No, I wouldn't. I would literally just pick up the phone, call my mate Simon Zucci, and go, Simon, what is your hourly rate for one-to-one tuition? He'll probably say it's 20 grand a year, Siam, and I'll go, fuck it, let's do it. And yes, in a year of one-to-one, hand-holding with Simon, am I going to save £20,000 worth of mistakes? Definitely. Yeah, I really would have. Because I basically didn't really do the expert sucking in mergers and acquisitions, and I made every mistake possible. And I've made 6-figure mistakes in mergers and acquisitions because I didn't have someone hand-holding me. And I think hand-holding is really important, especially in a tricky topic. Or any topic. It could be knitting. But does that make sense, folks? Again, I can't see anything that anyone's typing in Facebook at the moment. I don't know why. But hey-ho. But yeah, Adam, thanks for bringing that topic up.
No, it's a good answer. I've been asked a question. Can I ask you this one?
Go for it.
Will Benger's actually sent me a message on Facebook.
Oh, sweet.
I'm not going to be in a habit of doing this, but I'll just read out his question that he's just sent to me.
Yeah.
Which just says, "Hi Simon, met you at your 2-day trading course in Peterborough a few years ago." Smiley face emoji. I want to get into Ether, but don't want to FOMO in! Exclamation mark. Notwithstanding what you have said about pound cost averaging, where do you see Bitcoin price going in coming weeks, months? Question mark. Do you still have your? I know. Wait, let me keep going. Do you still have your BNB buy order at $182? Have you adjusted this? I have analysis paralysis. That's from Will Benger. Thanks.
Okay. Hey, Will. Good to hear from you, and thanks, Adam, for relaying that. Not gonna lie, it's my most hated question. What's Bitcoin going to do in a few weeks' time? The honest answer is I don't have a clue. I really don't know, mate. What is Ether going to do in a few weeks' time? Again, I really do not know. And that is the honest answer. For me personally, with cryptos, I look at models. And so one which I actually just talked about on the trading pub just now is one of the Bitcoin models I look at is the logarithmic regression curve. So if we if I just get it up here, obviously on Clubhouse you can't see this, so I'm sorry, this is going to be very boring for you, this next bit, but this will be recorded and put up on my YouTube channel, so don't worry. So long story short, Bitcoin always hovers between basically overbought and oversold in this logarithmic regression curve. And at the moment, I'm just going to try and explain this. Every time Bitcoin gets into the red zone, we then have a correction, and it always goes back to the blue zone. And this goes all the way back. All the way back to 2012. I'll try and get the Bitstamp one here so you can see. If we then look at it on the weekly chart, and so what we're basically seeing right now for those in Clubhouse is that Bitcoin is just a little bit beyond halfway of that curve. So right now the midline area is about $40,000. We're now sat at $53,000, and we're getting towards the red zone. So this is why I say I've seen a whole bunch of articles there where people go, oh yeah, Bitcoin's going to hit $300,000 in this cycle, and I'm like looking at this regression curve where the market has never the market has never ever exceeded the red band in the logarithmic regression curve ever since its creation. It's never done that. It's got very close to the edge, but it hasn't gone beyond it. And so when we're looking at the regression curve right now, the upper limit right now is sort of maybe $170,000. So personally, for this particular cycle, I'm looking at $100,000 Bitcoin. That's like at a nice push. Yeah, it could probably zoom over, but at the moment, we're sort of getting up there. So for me, I'm not going to get out of my cryptos. I'm not going to do a mass sell until we get closer to $100,000 Bitcoin. Now, what does that mean for Ether? Well, Ether, I mean, you can then track the Ether Bitcoin ratio if you wish. But again, so for me personally, when Bitcoin gets to its sort of red zone, that's when I'm going to start looking at exiting or converting other bits and bobs. But for now, I've taken out $100,000 of my crypto pot, and it's sat there in cash or USD, and I'm waiting for a bit of a dip. And today we actually had that dip, or we're having a dip as we speak. Is it the dip that I want? No, I'm expecting like a 20 to 50% dip. Today we've only had like a momentary 20% dip. I wanted something a bit harsh, more harsh, if that makes sense. But we haven't had that. So in terms of when to get in, how to get in, it's I cannot answer that question whether you FOMO in or not, or pound cost average in. But personally, my typical mantra stuff like this is that you buy in dips and you exit on surges. So that's typically what I say. In terms of Binance, BNB coin, I've actually got back into that. So I know I had a buy order in at about $180, but then I saw sort of this low test popping in. So I got back in at, I think, 280. I can't remember. Pretty much where it is now, 270, 80. I can't. Yeah. But I'm still got a chunk of money on the sidelines. So yeah, sorry if that's not the answer you want, but yeah, that's all I can really give at the moment. And again, Adam, thank you for relaying the message. I think we're going to have to call that a day. Tomorrow, what we're going to do for the daily Wealth Gen chat is we're going to go back to errors. I think because we've got a load more things that we can explore with business or investing errors. Okay, so tomorrow, come with your horror stories and what you did well and what you did wrong and the learning points, because that's what we're really going to extract. We're going to try and extract all the learning nuggets from people's errors. So yeah, gonna love you and leave you. Hope that makes sense. And thank you, everyone. Toodles. Bye bye.
Cheers.